Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of Bigfoot Girl Talks, where I discuss Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, and other cryptid-themed books, movies, TV shows, and what have you. I'm Amy Mercury, the Bigfoot Girl, and today I'm going to talk to you about a movie I watched just recently called Letters from the Big Man. Letters from the Big Man is a very different Bigfoot film. It's arguably a very different film in general. It's not a suspense or horror like Legend of Boggy Creek. It's not a documentary or first-hand account kind of Bigfoot movie, nor is it this fun, friendly comedy like, say, Harry and the Hendersons. It's kind of in its own little unique category. To give you a brief synopsis, it takes place in southwestern Oregon, and our main character, Sarah, played by Lily Rabe, she works in Forest Services, and she's just been given an assignment to test the water quality in this particular region of forest that was just recently ravaged by a bad forest fire. Early on in the film, it's indicated that Sarah, our protagonist, just went through a bad breakup. So it's kind of implied that her going off into the woods is not just an assignment for her, it's kind of a sabbatical, a way to recharge, refresh, kind of start new. And really she is kind of in the middle of nowhere. She goes out with a tent and a backpack and whatever she can carry and just goes out into the woods for a couple of days to take water samples, take notes, do drawings and sketches, whatever she needs to do this particular job. But after a little while of doing this, she starts to feel like she's being watched or followed by someone or something. And at first she thinks it's this guy she meets out in the woods named Sean, played by Jason Butler Harner. And we find out that a little bit later that he's actually this kind of environmental activist, which does create some tension in the plot later on. But when she meets him out here in the woods, she thinks he's been stalking her and watching her all this time. Turns out that's not the case. Our main character is actually being observed and followed by a Sasquatch, or a Bigfoot. In time, she figures this out, and she becomes interested in the Bigfoot. She wants to learn more about it and establish a sort of friendship, if you will. She leaves him like gifts of food, and in turn he leaves her gifts of little piles of rocks or twigs, or i.e. letters from the big man. And even after the assignment is over, she decides to go live for a while in this remote cabin off in this area of the woods. And she has her own reasons for it, but ostensibly she kind of wants to become the Dian Fossey of Bigfoot, which, aside from the lack of running water and electricity, sounds like a pretty sweet gig. Ooh, maybe not too much like Dian Fossey. So she's out here living in the woods and tries to find ways to communicate with the Bigfoot, to understand it, and later on as the plot progresses, to protect him as well. As far as what I think of the movie, I'm going to be honest, this isn't actually, well, when I watched it a couple of days ago, that wasn't the first time I'd seen the movie. This is probably like my second or third time watching it. Really, my first time watching it, I didn't really know what to make of it. It moves differently. It's kind of a unique film, as I stated before. And I think part of that is because it's an indie film, so the pacing is going to be different than, say, a big budget Hollywood film, what we're more used to. But in general, it's a very calm, subdued kind of film. There's not a whole lot of rising action, and arguably it's a little anticlimactic, but since there is no real rising action, no real like intense action happening, maybe it didn't need to be particularly climactic. It moves a little slow. It's not going to capture every audience. Like I said, this is the second or third time I've watched it, and I think it's one of those movies you have to watch a couple of times to really appreciate. Because it does move at a different pace, you're not really sure what you're looking at first. You're not really sure what you're waiting for. It's not as predictable as a lot of other movies. So I think you catch more things as you watch it a second or third time. But those are just some of the problems I had with it, which, frankly, what I liked about the film, I think far outweighs a lot of the problems I had with it. I think what I really liked about Letters from the Big Man is that we actually get to see Bigfoot. He's not just some formless, shapeless shadow off in the distance that we see in a lot of other movies, either because they want to create suspense and drama or because they don't have the budget for a decent looking Bigfoot costume. Which leads me to another thing I really liked about the film, and that is the Bigfoot costume itself. It was actually really well done. I thought it looked very natural, personally. It looked like somewhere between a gorilla, a bear, and a human being. I didn't think it looked cheesy or hokey or anything like that. I also like that the Bigfoot wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't a monster in this movie. Nor was he this kind of goofy, silly comic relief like in Harry and the Hendersons. Although I do love Harry and the Hendersons too, just in a different way. But this Bigfoot seemed, somewhere between animal and man. And I really like that they did that, this more multifaceted kind of creature. I also really appreciated Lily Rabe's performance in this. We get this impression all the way through that she's this girl recovering from heartache. She's trying really hard to get over this breakup, but she's also very strong-willed and resilient. She wants to start fresh. Sometimes during the film, I felt like I was watching a really long Peloton commercial. Seriously, she exercises a lot in this movie, like almost every other scene. But I think that's a visual representation of her trying to heal herself, trying to recover and get stronger from her recent breakup. She also drinks a lot of wine during the movie. I drank a lot of wine during the movie. The imagery was really nice in the film, too. To my understanding, it actually was filmed in southwestern Oregon, so you got these beautiful sweeping landscapes, it's breathtaking scenery, and it really sets the mood and the tone for the rest of the film. Overall, it's a very calm, soothing movie. If I had one word to describe it, it would be that. It's soothing. I felt relaxed watching it, and how often do you feel relaxed watching a movie anymore? I feel like I could almost meditate to that movie. Am I doing it right? In a nutshell, I really liked the film, especially once I'd given it a second chance, so I could really observe the film and pick up things I might have missed the first run through. It's probably not everybody's cup of tea, but if you're looking for a different Bigfoot movie with something unique to offer, I recommend Letters from the Big Man. You can get it on Amazon Prime Video to rent or purchase, or you can even buy a physical copy on Amazon. Quinn was kind enough to lend me her copy for a little bit so I can do this review for you guys today. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know I'm not just a fan of Bigfoot. I'm a fan of monsters in general. So if you'd like to see my personal project, Orc Girl, a monster romance comic, you can check out my website, orcgirl.com. Or if you just want to keep up with me and my adventures, you can find me on Twitter at OrcGirlComic. I'd like to thank Quinn so much for letting me do this segment today, and thank you guys for listening and watching. Mwah! Catch you later.